For all of you who just saw Michael, I'm about to defend Joseph Jackson. Hear me out. I'm Tony. I went from GOP congressional staffer to Dem staffer to progressive independent. Now I pull back the curtain to show you the truth. Joseph Jackson, Michael Jackson's father, ran a rigid, disciplined, abusive household, as was depicted in the movie. Now, there is absolutely no excuse for what he did to his kids. And I'm not going to say that his treatment was somehow good for Michael, if that's what you're expecting. But why do you think that Joseph acted that way? Probably the same reason that any untreated parent treats their children the way they do, because that's how they were treated as kids. Joseph Jackson grew up in the Jim Crow South during the Great Depression. And I'm going to get back to this, but let's first go back a little bit further, or I should say a lot further. Because the truth is that intense discipline is a pretty common trait among Black parents, at least historically. So where does that come from? Well, prior to colonization and the slave trade, West African traditions generally viewed children as sacred and connected spiritually. So discipline was more based on guidance and storytelling, much like what we see with Jesus in the Bible. But under slavery in the Americas, children were subjected to intense abuse in an unwavering disciplinary environment. But it didn't stop there. See, over time, especially when we get to the Jim Crow South, discipline became a matter of survival for the Black community. Parents treated their children harshly to literally save their lives, as lynchings and violence tore apart the South. But again, it didn't stop there. Slave patrols became police departments, and the poverty that was inflicted on the Black community made people very desperate and very susceptible to things like drugs and gangs. And so still, Black parents had to discipline their children for survival, as the only way they had left to keep their children away from these things. It's hard to gentle parent with a reward system when you're working all the time and have no money. And as a product of the Jim Crow South, whose father moved him away from his siblings at the age of 12, Joseph Jackson was very much a product of this environment, as we all are. The challenge that every parent faces is breaking generational trauma. And that's one of the many things that makes Michael Jackson so remarkable. Yeah, he stayed a child because he never got to be one, but it's so much more than that, and something the movie did a great job depicting. He not only broke his generational trauma, but he went on to heal much of the world's trauma, and his talent and creativity arose out of his suffering. It's really easy to simply vilify people like Joseph and keep things black and white. But the world's not that way, and you have to understand who's really responsible for the conditions that create Joseph Jacksons. Michael said it best: they don't really care about us. The rich live in luxury, and we continue to clean up their messes. I know it sounds kind of funny, but Michael Jackson is a big reason I am who I am today. As soon as I heard him, this little white boy's feet would not stop moving. Kids are usually a pretty good judge of character. And I think I speak for a lot of us who were kids at that time that his light was just so obvious to us. Rest in peace, Michael, and huge props to Jafar for that performance because it was unbelievable. Make sure you go see the movie if you haven't already.